there is rumors and conspiracy theories and everything out there floating around, and all these people are terrified that they're going to lose their house because I don't think people understand how the banks operate when a property is in negative equity. So what is your experience? Because everybody thinks that, let's say I bought a house like you did, 20% down, 700 grand. Now I'm still, when my 5-year term comes up, I'm negative equity. What happens to those people? Because everybody thinks the bank comes, and that's why Melanie has so many foreclosures.
Okay, I'm trying not to laugh too hard. The only reason the bank is taking your house is if you're not paying for it.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tom Storey Show. I got Steve here with me, like always today, and we have a guest who's not only our friend, but is a rock star real estate agent out of Fort McMurray, Alberta. Where the heck is that? We'll find out today. Also, Melanie is so good at social and building up brands. I think we're going to have a lot of fun on today's episode, so I'd like to introduce to everybody Melanie Galea. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, well, we're welcome. We're very happy to have you here. So what's going on right now? First of all, you're from Ontario originally.
I'm a schwa girl. Oshawa, the dirty schwa. Did you know that?
I've heard that term before. Yes. So what's a girl from Oshawa doing in Fort McMurray wearing a shirt that says Discover Fort McMurray? What's going on here? Give us the background.
I moved for love. I'm just in it with someone better, basically. And I started making some money and decided to stay, especially when I see how much traffic there is in the GTA. I want none of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's, life here is really interesting. People are, this place gets such a bad rap, but it is the place where your friends become your family because most everyone is from somewhere else. Mm. We joke that it's like the second capital in Newfoundland. Like I had to learn the Newfie sayings really, really quickly.
Interesting. So when you're walking around in town, you go to coffee shops. Is it kind of like everyone just knows everybody and you're on a first name basis? Is it that tight knit, or is there still a bit of like you can get around without people knowing every move?
You can get around. It's still about 80,000 people here, right? Okay. So it's a good size. But if you're at an event or something, then you tend to know your circles.
Right. Now, in terms of the real estate side of Fort McMurray, can you run us through, because we are well aware, me and Steve, how different our markets are from your market. But for the viewer, like what's the average home price in Fort McMurray? What's the market like right now? Yeah. Basically, what's it been like since you've been selling there? Because I know it's changed a few times. What's going on the day-to-day on the real estate side of things?
So Fort McMurray, I've been selling since 2007. And so I would say the first, were you even out of high school yet, Tom?
I wasn't born yet.
It's iffy.
But sorry, I couldn't resist. So in 2007, and we very quickly went into a recession in 2008, and Fort McMurray bounced out of that fairly quickly because oil town, right? As long as oil was selling well. And then we did really well. So I'd say the height of the market was 2014. And then that was the moment that Shell announced that it was doing fly in, fly out. And what that means is that that it was making it easier for people to commute. Which is, what I'm going to say, it's hurt our town. I know that there's been some studies done in Australia where they were doing that quite prevalently. And it was like, this isn't good for families. It's not good for a way of life, a way of being. And, but it's a commonplace here. So what it generally means is that people work here, but they live other places in the country, whether it's the island in Vancouver Island, whether it's out east, but this is the kind of city that, you've got more opportunities to make money or get job experience or advancement than you would if you were staying in a big city center, for example. So my assistant is an excellent example of this. She moved here She very quickly became my assistant almost 3 years ago now, and they were in a lot of debt, and they've gone, like last year, her and her husband's doing phenomenally well with his business as well. And they bought a house last year. Right.
Nice.
So, and they're happy, right? They're really happy. They have more here than they would anywhere else in the country. So if we talk about, the height of the market, the average sale price was $774. We are about,
and that was in 2014.
2014,
and that's still the height even to now.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So, right now it's about mid 500. So let's say 550 is the average selling price right now. Our market came down, and this is up. So at the height of the down, I'd say we were down $250,000. But it took us, so it's not happening like it is like, there was this spike I'm seeing in other markets. There was this, and you guys are down to those pre-spike prices. Thank God we didn't go through that. It was a real gradual kind of gradual thing. And it's been a buyer's market here for a long time. And we're right back into being a buyer's market again. So the difference between us and you guys is that we didn't have those situations where we had a list date or we had an offer date. I don't even know what you're talking about. No conditions. Don't know what you're talking about. Unless it's like, no, it does happen. But we have some condos here that sell for I've seen sales as low as $14,000 for a condo here.
And what do they rent for? Do they rent?
$1,200.
So why aren't we buying 10 of those? Like what's,
excellent.
I guess,
yes.
is that, it's because people just don't look at that as a vehicle. Because can most people there buy? That's why the rental market's not as good. Is that one of the reasons maybe?
It's getting more difficult to buy. I mean, It was difficult for some people to buy, but let's look at a couple of things that's different from the market. Okay. There was 40-year mortgages at one point in time when people with 0% down. We probably, Alberta, so the West is very different. A good portion of my business last year is dealing with bank repossessed properties, bank repos. And so, and it's been a big part of my business. I've been fortunate enough. I don't envy the situation people are to have gotten themselves in that situation. But I definitely use caring and respect when I sell those places. But there's a good number of bank repos here. And it is because people can't sell. So here's something interesting else that people may not realize. So after COVID, many people took advantage of being able to take their mortgage off for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't realize is that after the fire in May 2016, many people had the opportunity to take 6 months off their mortgage. So there's a year of deferring your mortgage. And that's probably one of the strongest reasons why we are where we're at when it comes to people not having a lot of equity to sell. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had over the years. You can't sell. You have to wait. You can't sell. You have to wait. You can't sell. You have to wait.
Because they're in negative equity positions?
Correct. They literally would have to open up their wallet thousands of dollars in order to sell.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by the Agent Confidential. Tom and I have paired up to build a community, a platform, and a group of resources to help real estate agents have more success in today's market, buy more of their time back, and have more certainty with where their next deal is coming from as the market softens. Tom and I are offering an 8-week fall market bootcamp. Here's what we've seen doing this for several years. We all enjoy our summer, go for drinks on the patio, go to the beach, and then all of a sudden, Labor Day hits us in the face. We get into panic mode like, oh my gosh, we're back to reality. Where's my next deal coming? So we've built this 8-week fall market bootcamp to help give you a step-by-step framework on what you should be doing every single day in the next peak of activity. We know that there's going to be 5 to 6 weeks of increased activity for the fall market like we see every single year. And we want to give you the tools, resources, and skill sets to be able to have the highest likelihood of success in this year's fall market. If you are interested in learning more, get in contact with Tom and I. If the bootcamp is not the right thing for you, that's okay too. We've got a ton of other free content coming out for you guys to make sure that we can help you in whatever capacity we can. So we hope to see you in the bootcamp. But if we don't, that's okay. We still hope to see you soon.
Interesting. And so you said percentage of your business for bank repos. I've personally never dealt with one in my market because we can sell here and typically you're in positive equity positions. What percentage of your sales every year come from bank repos? And that's got to be such a difficult situation to deal with. Like someone that's already in a tough spot, they don't want to be there. They probably don't want to sell their house, but they have to. Like, have you not walked into some situations that are really difficult?
They are. So there's different types of bank repos. Okay. There's the kind where people aren't quite out the house yet. And that's where a Queen of Courts bench is involved. And that's really difficult because the people are still there. It's not easy. I much prefer when I get them because the people have already moved out. Their items have been removed, but then the houses are in various states of repair. Like I could go down a rabbit hole on that one. I've seen mold like I've never seen before on some of these properties. So, I've seen places that are absolutely immaculate because people had respect. And then I've seen places just destroyed because they lost their home. And so last year I had 40% of my business was because of bank repos. Wow. Now what you got to understand, there's very few realtors that get those, there's a handful, right? And so I'm in the handful.
And what was it percentage wise in 2014 when things were at the height of the market?
Oh, I don't even remember.
Okay. Because it wasn't that high.
Yeah, I don't even think it existed. I think probably starting around 2016, 15, 16 is when it was starting to happen. Mm-hmm. And then from there, right? So yeah. And then I think with the interest rates rising again, we could see some more of it. But some of the other reasons, like, and so you asked why aren't more people buying those condos that cost $50,000? It's because the condo fees are so high, right? When you have $600-700 a month condo fees, which could be more than your mortgage, right? Like, but you're not getting a mortgage on a $50,000 condo, right? Like that's a cash sale. That's a line of credit. Wow. Those are for investors, right? Those are for investors.
Are these condo buildings older? Is that why the maintenance fees are higher? They've just been there for a long. Like they converted apartments at some point. Like, are you getting new built condos as well too, or is it just the old ones?
No, we do not need any more condos in this city.
Okay.
Stop.
Not at $14,000.
Building condos. So they're old, right? Like they're 70s, they're downtown. They're kind of, is there a nice way to say armpit? Like everybody has a Jane and Finch, right? Like sure. That's our Jane and Finch. I don't know the Surrey slang for what that, I could think it's just Surrey, right? So,
wow. We have that. It's 108 and King George. Those are the cross streets. I've been to Jane and Finch, kind of similar. But isn't it, Melanie, here's the thing. I was looking at Edmonton because Edmonton was very similar, right? Obviously a lot higher price point, but still a third of the price point for our condos here. So I was looking at Edmonton and I was like, oh man, this is looking pretty good. I can just buy one of these on my line of credit. This is no big deal. It cash flows positive. And then I actually started talking to some people that own in Edmonton. And they were like, you don't understand the difference usually between the quality of tenant that you're going to expect in Vancouver versus Northern Alberta. So the one I'm thinking about, the one particular person was like, I've never had a problem getting my rent paid or having vacancy issues in Vancouver in any of my condos. But the one he owns in Edmonton, sometimes he'll go 2.5 months. The property manager will check in on it and they moved out and they're gone. And it's like, what? Or they're just stopped paying and they're still living there. Right. So yeah, I think that is a risk that so many people should not consider taking on, specifically if they don't live in Fort McMurray or Edmonton. Right.
Well, here's the thing. What I find is that those types of rents attract new Canadians. Right? New Canadians. And so, like there's opportunities for new Canadians, but there's also affordability, but then there's also the cultural piece of that too. They want to be around their own culture. Right. Yeah. So, there's good tenants, there's bad tenants. And this isn't I don't want to make this a cultural thing, right? Like it's not that. No matter what, there's good tenants and there's bad tenants. So if you've got a good property manager to help maintain things for you, that's good. In one of the buildings in particular, there's a rental pool. So sometimes there's some advantages of being part of the rental pool. And sometimes there's not, but it comes with risk. All rentals come with risk, no matter
Absolutely.
no matter
100%.
the price point, always.
Yeah.
You're wearing a shirt that says Discover Fort McMurray. You are obviously very, very passionate about the community that you live in and serve, and you try to help the other businesses as well. So I want to really dig into that with you. Can you break down to me, because you've kind of taken the strategy of like become the mayor of your town.
Yes.
Like get people to know you, help their businesses.
Yeah.
So what's Discover Fort McMurray? When did you create that? And what's the purpose behind it?
Okay. Oh, there's a story and a half there. Okay. So May 1, I'll go back a little bit further. Michael Thorne and Jesse Peters have always been like, Michael Thorne most especially. I've been following Michael since he did a presentation at R4, which is the ReMax convention in 2013. And that's the moment in time I decided I was going to do video. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I was doing video. And so under my own brand of Melanie Galea, like my real estate, I did 30 videos in 30 days. And it was super fun. It was the first time. Definitely got to know some of the businesses. And then that evolved the next year. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to launch this whole Discover Fort McMurray. May 1st, I'm literally on the steps of Town Hall, and these water bombers are literally flying above, right? And that's when the fires have started. So by the 3rd of May, the entire city of 88,000 people were evacuated. The miracle of that is that no one died because of the fire. Myself personally, I didn't lose my house, but I will tell you, it's like I kind of joke that Big G and my protected people upstairs put me in a little bubble. I didn't see those wall of flames. I didn't see any of that. I didn't lose my property. I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful. But to be displaced the way that we were, it was very stressful. So a couple of things I recommend to your viewers is, and if you're an agent listening, please get your clients to do this. This is a great way to reach out to your clients and to have a touch point to talk about with them. Make sure that your insurance is good enough.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a minimum $50,000 for water in your basement, minimum, I would say you should even have 75. There were so many different scenarios that people had after the fire with insurance companies. It was ridiculous. So we lost 2,200 structures. So that could have been like a house and a detached garage. I'm really lucky where my house is. This was the only neighborhood that wasn't touched by the fire. But you also want to make sure that you have the right insurance for coverage. Have you gotten quartz countertops? You need to make sure that, like you have all those papers. And if you had to leave in an emergency, no matter what the emergency, BC's gone through flooding. If you had to leave your house in a flash again, what do you have stuff available in order for you to be able to do that? I hope you don't, but take the time and make a plan. Really. Yeah.
Melanie, we had chatted about this at a conference at one point where you were talking to me. It's like just before the fires, it felt like Fort McMurray was really kind of like building momentum and people were moving there and it was growing and exciting. And then this happened. Were the fires 2016? Was it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So what I would say is that, the recession really hit us hard in 2014. It actually helped us sales wise when it came to some recovery, economic recovery in here. Now, obviously, when oil prices aren't good, that doesn't help us. But I think some of the big companies really realized how much money that they had been wasting along the way, but they were making so much money, it didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're much more fiscally responsible at this point. And there's been a lot of changes, but there's still labor shortages here. And I understand that those labors, but skills trade shortages here. There's still opportunities here. So the market has changed, but it still have been a buyer's market, I would say, until maybe part of last year and into this year. Yeah, part of last year, and is when it made the switch. So what I would say to people is that what I say now is like, If you don't have an offer in the first 2 weeks, it's going to sit. It's going to sit. Price it right. Because here's what you're going to land up doing. You're going to be chasing the market down. And that's exactly what I was doing. And I was behind when I think back to my experience of the recession hitting in 2000 and from 16 to 50 or 15 to 16, in that year, prices were going down quickly and the inventory was up. So as that inventory is going up, you're going to see prices come down. So, I think it's important to educate, not scare, but maybe a little, your sellers. This is the situation. Do not wait. Price your house right from the get-go, because if not, it's going to sit and you may miss the market, right? And more patience is going to be needed. So what are you doing? So to agents listening, what are you doing differently to service? What are you actually doing? Do you even know how to service a seller, right? Like I'm kind of sitting back, eating my popcorn, watching you guys and I'm not saying this in a way to you don't earn the money that you make. I'm not saying it that way, but can I swear?
Go for it.
I don't know these words.
Get real. Shit is about to get real for you guys. Okay. In the sense of what's your game plan, right? Do you have a game plan to keep your clients informed of what's going on? And I've got some suggestions on that. One of the things that I've just started doing is that I am doing a weekly report every Thursday. So as soon as I'm done this call, it's owner report time. And it's taken me, listen, I didn't know I needed to do this. I would say we're all in coaching, right? And I would say that coaching has definitely helped me realize the value of service and what that means so that people have something to brag about. But this is what we're doing. So the very first thing I do with my sellers is I set them up as if they were a buyer for their house. So that once a day, they get an email that says, if there's any changes in the market, I don't want them chasing. I don't want them looking. And my question is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, would this be helpful to you? Oh yeah, that'd be great. So then what I do is when that email that goes to them also goes to my assistant. And so I have a Google sheet that we keep running of the changes. So if there's something new, what changed that week, or what's the last thing that changed? And if something gets an offer, did they show your house or not? And I can actually put that on there so that they can see exactly what's going on. I'm a super geek when it comes to the stats. I've been keeping a detailed spreadsheet since 2014 because I realized I didn't have a fast and easy way to understand what the inventory and the absorption rate, because that's what months of inventory is, right? So if you have X number, so for example, if there's 100 listings, there's 25 sales, then it's oh my God, my math, 2.5, right?
Supply.
4 months of inventory. Yeah.
It's 4 months supply, right? And so that's a balanced market. Once it gets under that 3 month supply, it's a seller's market. Anything over 6 is a buyer's market. So making sure that my sellers understand exactly what's happening, they can see the days on market. So I've kind of geeked out a little bit on this, but I now can not just tell people, I am showing them exactly what's happening in the market so that they know. It's not just me preaching, oh, your price is too high. No, look this is what your competition is doing. Their house isn't selling either. Right? So, but this one got an offer, yours didn't, and they didn't even show your house, and it was $15,000 lower. So
you don't have to agree with the fact, or you don't have to like the numbers, but you can't disagree with them, right? It's it is what it is. This is what it is. This isn't a gut feeling. This is exactly what's happening. And I do the same thing when I'm sitting down with sellers. I literally have 3 areas. It's active listings, how many sales, and then what the inventory is. And I show them. And in Toronto to start this year, we had 0.8 months of inventory.
I don't even understand what you're saying.
Right. So how have you survived? We're about 3.5, 4.
Okay.
We've really, inventory's built up.
Tom, that's nothing. We went from under 1 month supply easily, a quarter month supply, 1 week supply in some markets, and most of the CMAs I'm doing right now in the Fraser Valley are 14 month supply, and that happened within 2.5 months.
14 months.
14 months of supply. So basically for us, what we're experiencing right now is, I think we've said this 10 times on this podcast, but for my birthday, I got no more sales, right? Like that's how it's been. Like it was like we had accepted offers on July 13th and they walked away that day. Like they were accepted on like say the 10th or whatever. They walked away that day, the buyers, just going like, nope, we're not interested anymore. So everybody puts their feet on the brakes, and it's now slow. Now we're getting accepted offers almost continuously right now, and the amount of buyers that are not removing their conditions is crazy. Right? Like we're not putting together deals right now just because of the fear of, okay, what's going on next? Now, what I'm interested to see right now is the stock market about 2 weeks ago turned around. The inflation report that just came out of the States yesterday kicked the stock market off like, okay, it's go time again. And I'm waiting to see how that trickles in over the next little bit, because I think if we come into, what is it, September 7th, 8th or whatever, the next announcement.
Yeah.
If that rate announcement comes in at 1%, we're grenaded. It's done, right? If it comes in at 0.75, I think that's where everybody's hoping it is. But if it comes in at a half, I think there's going to be some people starting to get excited in my market again, right? Because it's like, okay, we've turned the corner, right? We're coming back down. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy how we went from so insane to shutting off the tap. But I've always been told that. Now I kind of experienced, because I got licensed in late 08. So there was no market when I got my license. Like there was just no sales, way less than now. But I've always been told by, mentors in the past that when it shuts off, it shuts off. We kind of experienced that a little bit in 2018 here, but like I'm talking 1981, 1990 style events, right? Where you go from, oh my goodness, everything's selling, to, oh, there might not be a sale this month in that area, right? So it is all about education. It's exactly what you're saying. It is no more sugarcoating. And that's where I think, Melanie, you're alluding to, the guys that got their agent or they got their license in the last 2 years, there's a learning lesson coming down the pipe right now for people that are just about to, like, most people don't realize that we spend traditionally in real estate most of our time informing our sellers that they're asking too much. And people don't realize that that's what most of the real estate industry or real estate sales is, right? People just want too much money.
I think when you can show them and not just tell them, I think that's the key,
Yep.
and having, so for myself, creating those spreadsheets, literally I've spent thousands of dollars on this spreadsheet that I have. And you're like, how? Well, I pay my assistant every week to update it. So it's worth thousands of dollars in my mind, but it's also my super weapon, right? It's like, this is like, okay, I'm not going to just tell you, I'm going to show 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 you. And it definitely helps so that people can see. And it's just like, Tom, you brought that right. You may not like what I'm saying, but this is exactly what's happening. Inflation is 8.1% last month. 8.1. That's the highest it's been in a really long time. I got another spreadsheet for that. I'll share that with you guys, and you guys can use that, because I've also have the interest rates going back to 2005. I've got Fort McMurray sales in there, but you guys can interchange that and put your own market stuff in there. But it's important to show exactly what's happening, because without that, people aren't going to know.
Is it kind of defeating sometimes just having tough conversations with clients? Because, I've had basically 2 moments in my career where things went down for at least 6 months in a row, and we're going to have another one right now. You went through a decade essentially of the same thing happening. And I remember at one point, we don't carry as many listings at once as you do, because the absorption's higher here, right? Like, in the crazy market, I would never have more than 5 at once because they'd all sell. And then 2 years ago when condos really slowed down, I remember having like 22 listings at one point, which to me is a lot at once. Maybe to you is definitely not a lot at once. And I was just like, I just had a list of all of them, and I would call the sellers, and I felt like I was just delivering bad news. And it was mentally exhausting. You're working 5 times harder for 20% of the result that you're used to if you're lucky. Like, so how do you get over that? Like, how did you survive and make a really good business in a market that was not going the direction where the conversations are easy? You've been having tough conversations for a long time with people.
I have been. Yeah. I would say when the market went down from 2014 to 15, I wasn't prepared though. My business was cut in half. Cut in half. And I've worked hard to get back where I am now. And I think some of the things that help, quite frankly, I wasn't managing my if we can be really frank here, I wasn't managing my well-being in 2017 and I got fired because I was being an asshole.
Okay.
I wasn't taking care of myself. And so this is like, if we can, I think this is an important message, right? Because I worked hard. I did some work. I did a lot of I had to get really, really real on my self-awareness and my growth. And I see a therapist regularly. I see my therapist today. Why? To help me counteract all of this, but also to make me, I look at it. You guys watch Billions?
Yeah. Yep.
She's my Wendy, right? She's my Wendy. So if you don't watch Billions, Wendy is the therapist that is like, she's a mental coach basically for those guys. And that's what my therapist is for me.
And if you're thinking of the actress, it's Tara from Sons of Anarchy.
Yes, she's so awesome. She's so awesome. And then there might be some wine drinking here and there. But I honestly, I have to do things to decompress myself because it is hard. I literally had I've had this conversation twice this week, and both people did a price reduction. Another person, I just can't convince him. I just can't. It's frustrating. I can see what's coming down. I can see it, but they're not listening. And all I can do is like, I've told you, you understand what I'm saying to you, right? Yes. Okay.
It seems like this worst case scenario mindset that most of the YouTube commenters have, or people on Twitter, which is like there's the trigger rate's about to hit soon. People won't be able to afford their houses. We're going to negative equity positions. Canada's screwed. We're going into a crash. Like all this stuff. You've done it. Yeah. Like it's actually happened. So let's just, for the fun of this, let's say the entire country goes into a real recession here and home prices drop. Like, what advice would you give on 2 levels? One, to the homeowner, and we talked about the insurance. I think that's really great advice for like natural disasters. Homeowner and then real estate agent. Let's say things do go bad here. Let's say people are in negative equity positions. Let's say Bank of Canada keeps pushing these rates and we get over 6-7%. It's bad. What do we do? Because even though the rates weren't there for you, it's like if 40% of your business is repos, that's 0% of my business. I don't even know what that world looks like. So advice for homeowners and then for real estate agents, if that were to happen across Canada and it affected everybody.
Well, the very first thing is that you have to remember you have to live somewhere.
Right.
I've had to live somewhere. So you're either paying rent or you're paying your mortgage. You have to live somewhere. And if you're here for a long time, right, there's just going to be a way to see it through. So that's the very first thing. And listen, I am in that position myself. I bought my house for $738,000 in 2011. I've got a legal suite. I don't have a garage. And my house is maybe, if I'm lucky, worth $525,000. And I think I still owe a little bit more than that. So I am in that position myself, but I've had to live somewhere. And at one point in time, this house made really, really good rent for me. So I feel like I'm not beating myself up because there's nothing, it doesn't mean anything until you sell. Right. And that's the other input. It does not mean anything until you have to sell. So just ride the wave. Right. Like, and what I'm going to tell real estate agents is there's stuff that you can do for free to give back. And I think that's the way, whether it's something like Discover for McMurray, or whether you're training other agents, or there's stuff that you can do to persevere. there's a lot of stuff you can do for free. A lot. You know, and maybe this is a good segue to talk about live open houses and to talk about some of the
you got ahead of me. I've got it on my list here. So live open houses. So let's go over that. So you were doing this before the pandemic, right? So we were already getting into it. And can you walk me through okay, so you're meeting with a seller. You're saying, okay, we're going to sell your house. And then this is my game plan for the live open house. Here's who it's going to. Here's the results. Walk me through that, because live open houses I haven't been doing. But you found a lot of success with them. So like, what's that whole thought process?
Okay. The very first thought process is I hate open houses. I think they're a waste of time.
Me too. Steve
and I
loves them.
And I want to golf. Quite frankly, that's what I want to be doing and that's what, so 2017, I started playing Saturday morning with the girls, and we play for money. Right. So it's like, I wanted to be able to enjoy. I work hard. I want to play hard too. But I was finding no one was coming. It was a waste of my time.
To the in-person open houses.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have not done an open house since 2017. I just, for me, in person. Yeah. Yeah. And in person. Yeah. Public. I stand here and wait for someone to show up who may not even be able to buy the house and just a nosy neighbor. Right. Or not even pre-qualified. Like, I'm going to tell sellers, I hope we get away from this, because it's a waste of time to have anybody in your house that is not able to buy it. And that really reinforced things during COVID. So, one of the things that I had been doing, so at first I was doing it just on Facebook. And then what I would do is I had to manually flip it over to YouTube after. And so if it was for one of my bank repo listings, that became the video for the listing. Free. Right? You either have time, or you have money. And I do have a tutorial about this on YouTube. So if you research my name, 20 pieces of content, we're going to get into this. So the next change that happened is that Instagram, you started to be able to do lives. So then I flipped over to Instagram and I did lives. And then the lives became Instagram TV, which is now
just video. Yeah.
Just video, right? So it's been easier. But the game changer actually was during COVID. I like working smart and hard. So I use a program called StreamYard, and I'm able to stream to 3 places at one time. So yes, with the cost, what's the cost of that? There's a cost to using StreamYard, right?
Well, like $20 a month or something? Or?
No, I can't even remember.
Yeah,
okay. Let's say it's like $500 US a year or something
like
that, right? Okay. But if you don't have money, you could at least stream to like Facebook, right? And then flip it over to YouTube or whatever. But I'm able to stream 3 places at once. The greatest thing that Korea did was they added us being able to link doing live open houses, public open houses on realtor.ca as well.
Yep.
So that was probably, and I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty sure the Yanks can't do it. They're like, what? I'm like, what? You can't, we can, woohoo.
Because they don't own their realtor.com.
Oh, maybe that's why. Anyway, so this is where we're at with that. Is that now I'm streaming to 3 places at once, so I can advertise beforehand. I can reuse this content. If you don't have video that you're using on a regular basis, this becomes your listing tour video that goes up that you can use so many other places. And then I flip over and I do it on Instagram because it's vertical. So I'm working smarter, not harder. And what I've seen is that those situations I've got, like during a buyer's market, I got a couple of 2 listings in particular into multiple offers because of it. So it's one of those things. And so the other tutorial that I have is, if any of you guys are BombBomb users, I'm an avid BombBomb user. It is the video email platform system. I can't speak to anything else because I just love the company and what they stand for so much.
Yeah, they're great.
So what I do is that I call it my 5 keys virtual tour. Okay. So the 5 keys virtual tour, especially during COVID, was fantastic because people couldn't go and we were still showing places. We weren't completely shut down like many other places were. But if someone had a good first showing, they could have their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th showing. So what that email has is the video tour, the walkthrough tour, a link to the 360 tour, the detailed floor plans. I use the iGuide system and I pay for the premium. If you don't have your iGuide camera, you should really purchase one. And I prefer it over Matterport. A lot of people don't like that dollhouse kind of thing. And anyways, that's my own personal, that's what I like.
Yep.
So and then the photos in the write-up. So that email, a buyer can sit and look at the house 5, 6, 7 times. So that's, and the other cool thing is, a client of mine landed up, we can double end in Alberta. And if the viewer doesn't know what that means, I can represent a buyer and a seller. And the buyers bought my listing. They told me how many times they watched the video. How many times they watched the video. Even after they were buying it and they weren't quite in there yet, they still watched the video almost every day before they moved in.
Does the video go up even before the listing's up? Or is it just the listing's up, then the open house? Is that kind of the strategy?
Well, for me, the strategy is I'm doing something for you rather than everything. Like there's this huge, it's top heavy, right? The blitz, what we all do at the beginning is very top heavy. So then what do you do after? Right? So this is the thing that you can be doing after. So, okay, you've got a strategy, you've got some kind of other video going a couple of weeks later, right? Now we also incorporate reels. Reels is really, and reels are fun, right? Like quick clips, fancy music, hashtags, boom, done. Right? You could literally, so there, free. Time or money.
Even Steve knows how to do reels.
Barely.
Okay. Do you guys remember Vine? You probably were a Vine guy. That's all a reel is.
I used to watch Vine. Yep.
Yeah, right? Like shorter the better. So listen, there's stuff you can do. And it doesn't have to cost money because I'm sure a lot of agents are concerned, well, if I'm not making as much money, I'm not going to spend as much money. Okay, then spend your time.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by the Real Estate Video Course. Today's real estate industry has changed, and you can no longer rely primarily on door knocking, cold calling, and geo-farming. While these strategies still work, video provides something that these traditional methods just don't, and that is leads that reach out to you because of you and the message and content that you are providing. I believe that video is king, and that through video, you can leverage your message, create stronger relationships, and become the authority on real estate in your marketplace. The Real Estate Video Course is a 5-part course that will teach you the fundamentals of video, including why it's so impactful, the equipment that you need to invest in to get started, and the proven tips and strategies used to ensure long-term success. So go to videocourselogin.com today to become a true creator, level up your editing and production skills, and develop your real estate video plan to leverage your message to current and prospective clients. That's videocourselogin.com. The link is below in the description, and don't forget to use the discount code TOMSHOW at checkout for 10% off any purchase. That's videocourselogin.com and use the checkout code TOMSHOW. That's TOMSHOW.
You know what that reminded me of? So I had Brad McCallum on my video group, and we did a private interview with him. I'm sure you know Brad well.
I love Brad. Yeah. His stuff is ridiculously cool.
In terms of listing videos, he is the top. No one's doing it better than him in terms of my opinion, from what I've seen. Does an amazing job and is obsessed with it. And we had a whole chat with him. It was really cool. We'll get him in the podcast in the future as well. But what he mentioned to me, and I just wanted to bring this up because I was like, hey, maybe you can add this one thing into what you're already doing, is he will put the video on YouTube 3 days before the house is listed, so that when someone Googles the address of the house, his video is already first above all the other sites that automatically take it. And it's like additional exposure before it's even on the market. I just thought that was like a neat marketing idea that not a lot of people are doing.
I think that's a great idea. I usually find though that people for where I am, they just want to get it on the market as fast as possible. Right. So,
fair.
Like combating that sometimes is a little bit harder. It'll be interesting to see what Brad hasn't worked a buyer's market yet, really. So it'll be interesting to see what he lands up doing. And that's not a criticism. I'd like to see how he's going to pivot, but his stuff is ridiculous. He's an amazing human being. I got to meet him at a BombBomb conference, and we've met up again afterwards. He's just brilliant. If you're not following Brad McCallum, he's out of Calgary. You got to, because it's But then don't get stopped, right? Like Brad's stuff is so good. Like, don't get stopped in yourself, right? Like Brad is just Brad. There's always going to be a Brad. There's always going to be someone that's the best. But I love this Tony Robbins quote. Like, the work that I'm doing is better than anyone else that hasn't started.
100%.
Right?
You know what quote I love? It's 1% of the population creates and 99% consumes. So if you're already willing to create, you can be in that 1%, and then you get better at it over time and better and better. And then you get into the 1% of the 1%. What an unfair advantage. Like, I've actually made it a thing that I've like really thought about, where it's like, I don't actually watch that much TV anymore, or even listen to other podcasts, or I just try to create. I'm creating as much as I can to put out there because I like consuming, and mostly sports is what I consume. But I'm like, I don't want to get my mind mixed up with trying to redo what someone else is doing. I just want to put it out there, which is kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, like we all create. We're creating on this podcast. You're creating with your virtual open houses, the content you're putting out. Steve's doing amazing YouTube videos. Like, we're just putting it out and people are consuming it and we don't even know they exist. So for you on the video side, by the way, when are we going to get you on YouTube talking head videos and you're going to go over the market in Fort McMurray? For it's more than just property tours.
You know what? I would really, I thank you for pushing me because I think I need to be, I honestly, I love what you guys are doing and it's time. And maybe after this we can have like, or maybe a great video is how do you do it? Right? That might be a great video. You sharing with me and us geeking out about that. I think that would be really
Have you not heard about the YouTube real estate course for realtors?
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is sponsored by the YouTube real estate video course. Go to realestatevideologin.com. Coupon code TomShow for 10% off at checkout. Live ad reads are better than the ones that we put in, so you gave us a perfect segue. Thank you.
The ones that we put in there? Yeah. No, well, I mean, honestly, Melanie, you can... I don't know what your market share is or how many agents you have. Everyone in Toronto and Surrey is an agent. So, we're trying to sell to agents half the time. But that is such an easy way to take over, in my opinion, a market like that. Cause I don't know who's doing it. I've never searched a YouTube for Fort McMurray real estate, but if I was looking to get a job there, like I'm amazed at how many people are kind of searching those areas. You brought up something. I kind of want to switch gears a little bit. You brought up something about people being in negative equity in their homes. And right now, that is happening for anyone I sold a home to in probably the last 6 months, right? And there is rumors and conspiracy theories and everything out there floating around. And all these people are terrified that they're going to lose their house because I don't think people understand how the banks operate when a property is in negative equity. And I actually did a video on this on my channel that's like probably the number 2 video that I've ever done now, very, very quickly. Must be a hot topic. So what is your experience? Because everybody thinks that, let's say I bought a house like you did, 20% down, $700,000. I'm not going to do the math because I'm not that smart. But now I'm still, when my 5-year term comes up, I'm negative equity. What happens to those people? Because everybody thinks the bank comes, and that's why Melanie has so many foreclosures.
Okay. I'm trying not to laugh too hard. Like, the only reason the bank is taking your house is if you're not paying for it.
Yes, correct.
Full stop.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay. I mean, hey, that's it.
And that's the answer, right?
I'm glad you answered it that way, because there are people that think they have to come back and bring more equity to the table when they refinance. Like, this is all the crap that's going on out there. So I'm glad you put it that way, just because yes, as long as you keep making your payments, the bank is not going to, like you said, the only day that matters, right, is the day you buy and the day you sell. Yeah. So what people don't understand is, as long as you keep making your payments, the bank isn't going to be stupid enough to foreclose on your property and solidify their loss when you're still ready, willing, and able to pay your mortgage. So I appreciate you putting this in my brain
a little bit. Yeah, please make more. That doesn't even occur to me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So there,
And you can't
it's on
see my
the,
face right
it's
now.
it's on the record. Somebody who's lived a down market for like 10 years, the bank's not
I'm
going
in
to take
that
away your home.
situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I paid more for my house than what I owe right now. The bank's not knocking at my door asking me to shell more money out. That's not happening. And I've refinanced my house. Like not refinanced, but like worked with them with my own mortgage broker, and we negotiated the next interest rate or whatever. They want you to be able to keep, they don't want the house back. They're going to lose money. Right?
Yeah.
Like
They're not in the real estate sales business.
no, that is such a great, banks do not sell houses. They're not in the business of it.
They're also
They're
not good at it. I'm dealing with a foreclosure right now, and let me tell you, what I'd like to recommend to the bank and what they'll do are two totally different things.
You're dealing with a lawyer versus the bank sometimes too, right? And so
you're always dealing with a lawyer.
That's a whole other, not every. Listen, I've got a great relationship with the people that I deal with at CMHC. We have a great system. I've got it down pat. I keep them happy, and I get to keep listing places. So I'm very lucky in that regard. One thing I do kind of want to circle back to, if I could, to talk about Discover Fort McMurray in the vein of what agents can do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you got a little bit more time, you could do 30 videos in 30 days. It doesn't necessarily need to be 30, but the 30 and 30 just kind of works.
So what are these videos? Is it all local businesses?
We just had planning yesterday about what the next one's going to be, and it's going to be my 5th one. This time I'm picking who I want to be in it, because I'm picking companies that will share a lot, that have a decent following themselves. But I have a core of like 6-7 people that I've done almost every other time. And so I just kind of got to give them a little break. I'll find a way to honor them though too, because they've been supportive since my first brainchild of all of this. There's a couple of ways that you can do it. The way that we're doing it, I'm going to tell you hands out, it is labor intensive, but I use a program called REALTOR.com that distributes my content. So the first thing I would say is do it in a form that is the easiest to distribute. So that's going to be horizontal video over vertical video. We tried to do a combo of last year, and it was well received, but on our back end, it was a nightmare. So what I would say is, do it horizontal, because horizontal is easier to make vertical if you need to than making vertical horizontal.
Yep.
So that would be my first. So there's a couple of ways you could do it. You could do them all live. Then there's no prep work. You just show up, you talk about the business, you talk with the business owner. You know, like Jesse Peters did one where he just popped up outside, didn't even talk to the business owner. You know, I recommend talking to the business owner though, because that's how the relationship gets created. Mm-hmm. That's how you become the social mayor. That's like, let's face it, when people move to your community, you want to be able to say, go here, go there, get this, get that, get this. I mean, I also have a Facebook group of about 4,000 people. And right now it's a private group because I'm controlling the narrative on it very, very tightly. You have to live in Fort McMurray. Anymore, there's a ban on vent cleaning posts.
Oh, like not venting, but vent cleaning.
Yeah, vent clean. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Like air ducts? Like we've got an air duct issue. We got fake people call my phone every week.
Oh my God, I'm so over it. So those are banned from the group. There's no multi-level marketing. And so anyways, it's a place where people can go to say, hey, I need this. Where can I get this in town? And it's a positive, happy place. So I also have the attention of 4,000 people, right? And so this is one of the places that we put these videos. So that, like I said, there's lots of different ways. The way we've chosen to do it is labor intensive. I would say for 30 videos, I'm spending, myself and my team are spending at least 100 hours. And this is why and how, okay? Your travel time to you got to book. Booking can be a pain in the butt with these people sometimes. You got to book. You got to show up. You got to so you got to get there. Then you got to book the time with them, get them ready. Most people are not good on video, right? Or they're not comfortable being on video, or they're not comfortable speaking, or they're super nervous. I'm pretty good because I've got set questions. Like, you know, the questions are like, where are we? What do you sell? What's something someone doesn't know? And yeah, what's something someone doesn't know about your business? And so even a business, Chocolates and Candlelight, that's been here for over 20 years, people that have lived here for 30 years don't know about it, right? So don't assume that everyone knows. No, they might not, right? So there's different ways to do it. There's different levels of doing it. You know, the next level that we're doing is that we've asked, I'm not charging these businesses. I have in the past, but it's only because it's become such a huge thing. But this time I'm asking them to offer like at least $150 gift certificate, the ones. And so this one's going to be a mix of some places that are having events. So the hospital is having they do their Festival of Trees. So the week of, you know, it'll be the Festival of Trees. You know, this weekend thing, great event for the kids. Most of those events are already sold out though before that, but it'll be a good thing. There's an inaugural flight, and this may, like, we have an international flight starting again because we are an international airport. So we have a direct flight from Fort McMurray to Tucson starting, and we're going to do a live. I just talked to the airport yesterday. We're going to do a live talking about the flight, and that Flair Air is going to be doing that. So that, and then some of the local businesses where people can shop because people want to shop. And one of the smartest things I think our Chamber of Commerce has done is they've got this shop local card. So a bunch of these businesses are part of it. Boucher Group is sponsoring it. So if you buy a $100 gift card, it costs you $85. Yeah, it's good. So letting people know about these things, and then it's 30 days of that. And you know what? The team loves it. Does it get me business? Yes, eventually. Does it get me brand awareness? Yes, it does. I don't talk about being a real estate agent other than once in a while. Oh, look, Melanie's favorite word, sale, sold. Right. So we've done lots of different things. I've done there was a one day that we did a shop local day. And then I went to 20 different businesses with the local radio announcer, and we did lives at each location. That was really tiring. I was exhausted at the end of the day. And I'm I am an extrovert, but that was like, I was done. I was done.
What I've heard from all this is like, you have to put in the time and you have to be passionate about it. And if you're just doing this just to sell more properties, don't do it. You have to do it because you care about your community.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that Melanie sounds passionate about this? Because I don't get that at all.
Well, by the way, Melanie, when you were talking there, I was searching in the background on YouTube for Fort McMurray content. My God, if you went hard, it wouldn't take you very long to be the most followed person on YouTube in Fort McMurray real estate. Would not take long at all, especially with what you're putting out already.
You know what, guys? I really want to thank you for the push and the invitation and a reminder to do that. I really do. And I'm going to sign up for your course. Because there
you go. We got a sale. Look at
there you go. There you go.
I'm dying though, because I've probably been doing video longer than the pair of you. But here's the lesson in that for me. Doesn't mean I have it all handled. Doesn't mean I'm the best at it. It means that I look for ways to get better. I'm always looking for ways to improve. Right. So I appreciate the invitation, and I am definitely going to take you up on that. As you can see, I've got this new fancy mic here, which is like,
looks great.
Oh my God, geeking out. Well, if I could plug for a moment, I have started my own podcast, but it's not real estate.
What's it called?
It's called Shift Disturber. Conversations about the shift that changed everything. Healing your life piece by piece. So, the journey of me, I mentioned earlier that I got fired. What I didn't finish up with is that I got rehired. And
fired from a client or a company?
A company.
Like a real estate brokerage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was the shift in your life, I'm assuming, that changed everything?
Probably, yes. That, like, I've had a lot of stuff happen, but that's probably the biggest sort of eye-opening time to wake up and how to do this, Melanie. Why just stop? And so what I want for people, I want people to laugh. I mean, I've got Kevin Parent on there who does Ottawa Public Health, and their Twitter account is hilarious. Steve, you would really appreciate this guy. So Ottawa Public Health Twitter account is on point. It's so good. So it's just stories. Everyone has a story about the shift that changed everything for them. So some of it is going to be about, like, my first guest she talks about going from being a teacher to being able to really help people. She's a psychic medium. Then my next guest is Bruce Johnson, who's doing the motorcycle ride for miracles because he lost his daughter to super rare disease, and now the Children's Miracle Network is benefiting, and he's on a road. He's so close to raising $1 million. So there's some really cool guests. My intention is that it's something people could do to take care of themselves and be inspired and be courageous so that they don't ever get themselves in the situation where I was, that I wasn't okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't okay. Yeah.
I think it's, I want to thank you for talking a little bit earlier, what you were talking about going to, therapy and all that stuff, because I do think that the part of our business that most people don't see is what you have kind of shed some light on, which is so much of my day is spent having really tough conversations about people and their like financial worth and the situations that they've got themselves in. And I know everybody thinks that we just, as real estate agents, sit back, do nothing and count money, but we have a lot of really hard conversations. And to think that you don't take that home with yourself every single day and then have it reflect on your family. And, I know I have a cocktail probably once every night too much, right? Like these are the things that do weigh on us. So I'm pretty stoked to hear that you're finding ways to deal with that other than stressing out, flipping out on people and drinking too much wine. Right. Well, I'm okay with the drinking too much wine part, but
well, once in a while, right? Everything in moderation. So I'm going to ask you guys, right? I'm going to flip the switch here a little bit. What are you guys doing to manage your well-being? Like what's your way? What's your way to decompress? What is your way not to just decompress, but to fill the tank, right? Fill your own love tank. I don't know. Anyways, love tank comes from the book, The 5 Love Languages, which is amazing. And I think if you understand your partners, that's the other person that's into this, right? Is our partners, but making sure my tank is full, because it's just like if you're in an airplane, you got to put that mask on yourself first before you can help anybody else.
For me, I can tell you, like, I don't identify myself as just a real estate agent anymore. Like, like it's all your self-worth is what you do because you're so passionate about it. Like, I know I am other things. And truly the thing that really changed my mindset, I learned from Dean Jackson, and we just interviewed him as well on the video course. And you know how like they tell you success in life is like, okay, well, when I hit this goal, I'm successful, and it's monetary or lifestyle. Dean's thought process was switch it. Wake up every morning and you decide, I am being successful today if I. So you get to choose every day. It's not when it's if I. And you can make a list. And it can be, I get to wear what I want when I want. I get to work on projects that excite me. My passive income exceeds my lifestyle, so I'm not stressed out about money. Even if the time's not right, I'm willing to take on new opportunities. So it's like when I go to bed every single day, it's not just, well, I sold 3 properties today, whip-de-doo. It's like, no. I got to spend time with my family. I took Sundays off. I had my coffee, looking at the water, because that's where I find calm. Because the truth is, like, we can say this all we want, that real estate, you want to be proactive in this business, but it is reactionary. As much as we prepare or have systems or great people, it is reactionary, and it's never going to be this like perfect thing. And I used to go to Jamaica a lot growing up with my family, and a saying that we learned there is no problems, only situations. And that's kind of stuck with me, where it's like, if you think everything is a problem, your whole day is just going to be stressful. Like you're just putting out fires. But if it's just a situation, like everybody puts their pants on the same way in the morning. It's just human beings. Like you don't have to stress out over everything. So yeah, I just focus on like, did I choose to be successful today? Not when I hit this, I'm successful. Because then when you hit that thing, there's another thing, and then there's another thing, and then there's another thing, and it just keeps going. It's this, like the carrot's always going to be there.
Here's what I love that you said, because I think it comes back and down to this. And guest number 6, I think, is Teresa Jabor, and she talked, because we all know who you're being creates what you do, which creates what you have. So I think what your gentleman friend was saying is like, he is choosing who he's being. And what Teresa talks about is that who you're being actually is created from how you're listening in the world. So if you're listening for And listen, you're going to get, and I had the best experience of this when I worked at National Sports. Oh, neither of you from one too. Anyways, I worked at this sports store and I used to have this attitude. The worst, stupidest customers come to me all day. Well, guess what I got?
That.
Guess what I got? Then one day, after reading like a Louise Hay book, The Powers Within You, it's like, it's your attitude and it's what you're putting out. I'm like, this is bullshit. Ugh. But I tried it one day. And it was the most profound experience that I ever had, because I have the best customers. Everyone great comes to me. Well, guess what I had? I had the best day. So I challenge you both, or I challenge your listeners. What are you listening for? That agent that you know is always a jerk. If you're a jerk waiting for him to happen, guess what you're going to get, right?
Yeah, totally.
This is my own private therapy session. Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Awesome. But listen, this is an important message, because here's the thing. Sellers are stressed out.
Yeah.
Agents are stressed out. They're worried. They're afraid. So what can you do to calm that down so that you're not you're responding and not reacting, right? And figuring out what you're reacting to, what's triggering you. And then us as agents on the other side, holding back a little bit. Why is this client freaking out? What's underneath? What are they worried about that they're not articulating because they haven't been able to figure that out? That kind of listening and that kind of understanding is a whole other level of service. Whoever you are in your life, imagine even with your kids or your partner or your business partners, right? Like, it's a whole other level of listening. So Steve, what are you doing? You're not off the hook.
You can see his new home gym behind him. He's working out.
I was hoping to escape that one. I mean, definitely, I'm finding the opposite. Like, I came in from a real job into this industry, and it was really easy to keep divided. My, family time and everything else. I found that since switching into kind of a team leader role, that's much harder, much harder. So working too much, not being able to delegate properly is becoming a worse issue, which shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around. Should be getting easier as years go. But at this point, I've come to a realization probably in the last year that age is becoming, honestly, a serious factor. I know Tom's going to dig in here as hard as he can, but physical health is the current focus again. I've been there many times in my life. I've gotten shape many times in my life, but this time it's like, I can't walk properly today because my hip is hurting or whatever it is, right? Like, it's a serious age thing. So I think I do feel like getting that back in line to where it should be is the part that I'm getting up every day and looking forward to. If that makes sense. That.
I just turned 50. I've got a Peloton too. Getting on that puppy and just making sure, like, I've got
that
no excuses.
Peloton, Melanie, that Peloton has lied to me for 2 years. I've been on that thing. I was grinding on it, and I only put on weight. My cardio was great. I only put on weight. So I'm getting back to what it is, weightlifting, which I don't know if you can see it behind me, but yeah, I put in a home gym. I train with my brother every morning at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I get up at 5. And that is what I'm looking most forward to. The other thing I do look forward to every day is stuff like this. Like, Tom has introduced me, through having him in my life, has introduced me to, hey man, you don't have to just sell real estate to make money. You can do a lot of other stuff that also interests you. And I never really had that thought before. I was always like, job, get money, job. And now there's like the investing you can do, the property investing you can do, stock market investing, selling the courses that we're doing now that is doing great. It's so cool to me that you can do other things to provide value other than the stupid 9-to-5 job that you may or may not have, right? Like, I'm trying to tell people right now, the success I'm having with YouTube, if you're having trouble, like, you have a hobby, why is it not on YouTube? You can get paid to do your hobby. Literally anything you do right now, you can get paid to do that if you package it correctly and get it out there to people. But most people don't want to do it because it's a whole bunch of hard work to get it off the ground. So creation, like Tom is saying, for sure. But man, I got to get this fat body back back in shape, because I'm only going to have it for another, let's call it 40 years, probably, maybe 50 if I'm lucky. So let's get it tuned up.
I love what you said, and I hope that you both and your listeners. I'm a retired massage therapist. That's the business that I came from before doing this. Body work, some kind of body work, is so important. Whether it's, I get acupuncture regularly, I get craniosacral therapy regularly, massage, obviously, chiro. Like, I can't tolerate being in pain whatsoever. It's sort of low pain tolerance is probably, for me, it's a gift. But it's gifting myself that time. I'm selfish about that for myself, making sure that I do get body work, because I know it makes such a huge difference for me. Huge, huge difference.
Melanie, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I always, like, this sounds a little weird, but like, I love even sometimes listening back to the podcast before it actually goes out, because I'm like, when you're in the conversation, you're talking, but sometimes you miss things because you're thinking of the next question or whatever. So I'm really excited to listen to this back myself, even before it goes live, because you dropped a whole lot of stuff, not just on like personal development, but just how to survive markets that are not thriving, whether you're on the consumer side or the real estate side. So I want to thank you. The way that we end most podcasts here is I ask Steve if he has any words of wisdom, but you're here, so I'm not going to ask Steve. Final thoughts, to anybody listening. Just doesn't have to be real estate, just life. Like any final thoughts?
I'd love it if you listen to my podcast. That is what's bringing me so much joy right now. You talked about that other thing, that other next thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's next inside of that, but I feel like that's going to be my outside of real estate thing. It's fun. It's so fun. It's bringing me so much. It literally makes my soul smile. And so Scott Stratton we recorded an episode.
Nice.
My eventual goal is to get Gary Vaynerchuk. I finish every episode with tell Gary V needs to let him know. So he's good. And it will happen.
You'll get him.
So yeah. So no, it's like, it's the thing. And I do think it'll bring value. So if you're interested in that conversation of, being intrigued in what does self-awareness mean and why it's important, or some success stories of people having courage of, stopping doing that job that they were doing so that they can make money from the passion that they have for life. And I hope that inspires people too. And yeah, courage is a really powerful word, really. And it is the word of change. It is the start of change, the word courage.
I love it. Well, we're going to put your podcast show information in the bio and in the links for wherever you're watching this or listening to this, so you have access. Please make sure to check out Melanie. Also, other than the podcast, how do people find you online? What's the best platform to find you?
I would say, Instagram's a great place. So Melanie Galea ReMax, and or Shift Disturber at Instagram is the other place. But real estate wise, I think if you just Google my name, I'm really the only Melanie Galea, or the only Melanie in Fort McMurray anyways. So if you're saying Melanie Realtor Fort McMurray,
you'll find you.
Pop up. Yeah.
Links all down below in the description.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Tom Storey Show. On behalf of all of the guests here today, well, just one guest, but Steve's always here. Steve kind of hangs around. Bye.
Bye.